Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News. Lord help us, because America woke up today looking like somebody hit the country with a cosmic frying pan. January 25th, 2026 ain't just a news day. It's a sampler platter of disasters. You got winter storms icing up half the map, the power grid tapping out like a wrestler in spandex, the aviation industry collapsing like a lawn chair under Big Earl at the cookout, Minneapolis turning into a constitutional family feud in public, Venezuela sending us its president whether it wanted to or not, and Congress sitting around deciding whether the government should keep the lights on. Metaphorically, anyway, because physically the lights are already going out. We got 6 segments today, because apparently America's collecting crises like my cousin collects DU. Segment 1. Winter Storm Fern turns America into a freezer aisle. Now let me tell y'all, Winter Storm Fern ain't just a storm. She's a mean old aunt who shows up uninvited, drinks all your beer, freezes your pipes, and steals your favorite hoodie on the way out. 2/3 of the country is currently impersonating a popsicle. They said the storm stretched 2,000 miles, which is basically the length of a road trip you take when you're running from child support. We got thunder sleet. That's nature trying to electrocute you and freeze you at the same time. It's like the weather said. Pick your fighter. Ice is building up so thick that trees are snapping like my patience on Black Friday. Power lines carrying 500 extra pounds of ice. That's almost as much as my cousin Earl carries when he says he's bulking. And bless the South, Georgia's at 5 degrees. 5 degrees. That is not weather. That is punishment for whoever mixed sugar into cornbread that one time. Folks in Tennessee are skating to their mailboxes without meaning to, and Texas is out there experiencing thunder sleet while staring up at the sky like, now why you gotta be like that? Meanwhile, the weather folks are naming all this meteorological carnage like it's some kind of holiday festival. Flash freeze, baroclinic leaf, moisture plume. Sounds less like weather and more like rejected Mountain Dew flavors. Segment 2. The power grid crisis. PJM goes full nope mode. Now PJM, the electric grid that powers 65 million folks, woke up this morning looking at the storm like, yeah, we're not doing that. Demand shot up, natural gas froze in place, wind turbines quit, and coal plants started coughing like they were smoking 2 packs a day. So the Energy Secretary flips open the Federal Power Act like it's the emergency manual in a U-Haul truck, and breaks out Section 202 SAC. For folks who don't speak bureaucrat, that means, turn on every power plant we got, even the evil ones we swore we'd never use again. If there's a generator somewhere in Appalachia powered by moonshine vapors and spite, I guarantee they turned it on. Electricity prices jumped to $3,000 per megawatt hour. $3,000. That is electricity priced like craft bourbon. If your Christmas lights were still plugged in, congratulations. You're now personally responsible for the national debt. Meanwhile, the Energy Secretary is on TV blaming the previous administration for shutting down reliable generation. And the previous administration is blaming him for not knowing what buttons to push. And PJM is blaming everyone else. And Uncle Ray is sitting at home blaming immigrants for some reason unrelated to electricity, but deeply important to him. But here's the kicker. Even if power comes back, the bill collectors are coming like raccoons around a dumpster. We're talking storm surcharges, utility rate hikes, bankruptcy filings, the whole parade. America's power grid is basically a boomer refusing to admit it needs therapy. Segment 3. The aviation system collapses like my uncle's diet. Over 10,000 flights were canceled today. That's not a disruption. That's aviation saying, we're going on strike, but like, emotionally. JetBlue canceled 72% of flights. That's not a flight schedule. That's a participation trophy. American Airlines lost track of over 1,400 flights, like they were keys in the couch cushions. Airports like Philadelphia and Reagan National had 90% cancellation rates, meaning they were basically just giant snow-covered waiting rooms with vending machines. Crews are stranded everywhere. Pilots are waking up in towns they didn't know existed. Flight attendants are texting their families like, "Don't wait up. I accidentally live in Louisville now." And the FAA says recovery will take 72 to 96 hours, which is wild, because that's the same amount of time it takes me to recover from eating gas station sushi. By the way, I once flew Spirit Airlines and ended up in Cleveland when I was trying to go to Miami. So to me, this all just looks like normal aviation operations. But for the rest of y'all, this is brand new horror. Segment 4. Minneapolis Constitutional Crisis. Streets, States, and Standoffs. Okay, buckle in, because this one's hotter than bacon grease on bare feet. Federal agents shot and killed a U.S. citizen named Alex Pretty during Operation Metro Surge. DHS says he was armed. Video says he was holding a phone like he was about to live stream the nonsense. Eyewitnesses are yelling, "He wasn't armed." DHS is yelling, "Yes, he was." And the video is yelling, "I don't know what y'all are talking about, look at this frame right here." Minnesota investigators tried to take over the crime scene, and the feds blocked them like toddlers guarding their favorite toy. A federal judge had to jump in and declare, "Stop touching the evidence," which is never a sentence you want to hear in government. Governor Walz activated the National Guard. Trump threatened the Insurrection Act. Minneapolis refused federal troops. Federal troops are warming up the engines anyway. It's like the world's worst custody battle where the child is the Constitution. If things escalate, we could have state National Guard units and federal active duty troops in the same city with two different bosses, marching around in the snow like rival marching bands, about to rumble in a high school movie. And all of this, all because of a shooting that looks more questionable than a gas station hot dog. If Earl ever got into a standoff this big, Mama would have handled it in 20 minutes with one sandal and a long lecture. Segment 5. Operation Absolute Resolve. How America Collected a Dictator. Now, in international news, the U.S. basically kidnapped Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro earlier this month and brought him here like a stray dog somebody decided was their problem now. Operation Absolute Resolve sounds like an energy drink, but is actually the U.S. conducting a raid deep in Caracas, grabbing Maduro and his wife, flying them out, and dropping them into the SDNY courtroom system like their bonus DLC content. Maduro says he's innocent. The U.S. says he's running a narco state. Experts say his capture probably violated a few dozen international laws. And Venezuela says, "Who wants to be interim president? Anyone? Anyone!" Delcy Rodriguez stepped up, released a handful of political prisoners, and told the world, "Look, we're trying." Congress fought over war powers, split 50-50, and J.D. Vance broke the tie like the teacher's pet who reminds everyone there was homework. Now half the Senate is furious, and the other half is pretending they planned this all along. Maduro's trial might turn into a gray mail circus, where he threatens to expose things the U.S. doesn't want exposed. If he starts naming names, Washington's gonna sweat harder than I did during my first DUI stop. Segment 6. Government shutdown approaches like a slow-motion car wreck. Now with all this happening, Congress is trying to pass a spending bill to avoid a shutdown. But Democrats say they won't fund DHS, while the Minneapolis shooting is unresolved. Republicans don't have 60 votes to break a filibuster. Libertarians are voting no because they don't like spending money on anything except maybe suspenders and chickens. Senator Schumer said Democrats will not provide votes to proceed. That's Senate language for ain't happening, buddy. Meanwhile, moderate Democrats, the ones who normally bend like yard sale lawn chairs, are holding the line for once. Minnesota's senators are demanding a full investigation. Rand Paul is voting no because he votes no on everything except oxygen and maybe breakfast cereal. And because Congress is stuck, we are now starring in a national polycrisis, where everything breaks at once like a Walmart piñata hit with a baseball bat. In conclusion, America today is basically a crock pot full of chaos, set to the boil setting nobody meant to push. Winter Storm Fern froze the country, PJM fried the power grid, the aviation system face-planted, Minneapolis is reenacting a constitutional showdown worthy of cable TV, Venezuela is sending us its former president whether we asked for him or not, and Congress is deciding whether the government should take a nap for a while. Stay warm, stay safe, and remember, if anything goes wrong, blame the weather, the government, or my cousin Earl. That usually covers it.